welcome along to week 2 of Alliance Leagues Reloaded. Another thrilling weekend of football and hurling action as we look back once again in the company of Kieran, Donaghy, Seamus, Hickey and Eamon Donoghue of the Irish Times. So much to discuss tonight. There's the heroics of Carlow, the lay of the land in Cork and just what's going on in Tyrone. Oh, and we do have the small matter of Kerry against Dublin this Saturday to chat about too. Later on the show, we'll be asking these two gentlemen exactly what it takes to win an All-Ireland. We'd also like you to be involved, and you can do so by following us on the usual social channels on Twitter, Facebook and YouTube at AirSport. Please send in any questions you might have. Now, here's a little taste of what's to come on the show tonight. You're very welcome, guys. There was a jam-packed schedule at the weekend, so I'm going to come to you now for your highlight, Seamus. Of course, you were at the Limerick and Tipperary game.
Freezing, yeah.
Freezing, yeah. Well, you did. We were really impressed.
Prepared this time.
What were your highlights?
So it was what we expected it to be in the first half. Tipperary did bring the physicality they actually kind of raised against Clare the previous week. But Limerick were ready for it. I thought Limerick were going to be ready for this. I thought that Limerick wanted to lay a marker at home in the Gaelic grounds, and that's what it was. First half, I suppose the lead changed a couple of times. Tip went 4 points ahead of that great goal from Bonner. But I think Limerick closed out the half well, going in a point down, and showed great, I suppose, maturity and I suppose a bit of kind of a stamp on the year to come to finish out the game. 7 points up. Again, for Tipperary, it's not the end of the day. It's not the end of the world. They've got, it's a league. They've got points on the board. They're tipping away. But for Limerick, I thought it was a bit of a statement, especially at home, to say that Park na Gael is going to be a tough place to go to this year. So a good win for them. Sheedy said it afterwards. They're just onwards and upwards the next game. Sunday was very interesting. The game in Cusack Park in Ennis was way tighter than it could have been. Clare were comfortable enough in the second half. The fact that they let Kilkenny back into it towards the end was probably unnecessary. Continuing to rely on the likes of John Conlon for the big scores, and it's good to see Podge, I suppose, getting in the action as well. Clare have depth, and I think they showed it again. Even Colin McGalvin playing midfield, really good game from him. Yeah. That's going to be a key for the Munster Championship this year. They had it last year, but without Tony Kelly now to actually come through with a result like that at home against Kilkenny, great result for them. And I suppose they've had it over them for the last 4 years. But for Clare need to, I suppose, build on their momentum from the start of the year. Down in Cork, it was a different story. I was very impressed with the result for Wexford. Brilliant. I said it last week that it was the kind of game where, without the pressure of, I suppose, every game being relegation counting this year, that it would suit Wexford. And it did. And Wexford played quite well in the conditions. The conditions were horrendous, very, very poor. But at the same time, Cork now are in an unenviable position. No points, 2 games. And I can't think they're overly pleased about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was plenty of football talk as well. Kieran, what were your standout moments of the weekend?
I think how well Mayo played on Sunday above in Healy Park. I've been up there. It's a real hard place to go and get a result, and just how strong and powerful and how confident they looked, and the way the half back line was attacking, and they just seemed to be so comfortable. I'd never seen Tyrone rolled over in a league game as easy up there. We got a big win at the end of a league one day, but it was a nice warm day. We needed to win to qualify. I think we won by 6 or 7 points, but that was the most comfortable I've ever had up there. But they were a real highlight for the weekend, and a real signal of intent from James Horan and his backroom team that don't write off Mayo this year.
There was stamps being made on both national leagues. And Eamon, obviously, as a journalist, you have your eye on all games. Is there anything additional that stood out for you this weekend?
Yeah, for me, kind of going back to Division 4, actually, Leitrim have made the best start of any of the football teams to the national leagues. Shane Moore in the middle of the field for them, Dara Rooney, Ryan O'Rourke. They've been very impressive. And before that, in the FPD League as well, they're very unlucky they should have beaten Mayo. They missed a lot of goal chances in that game, and they made a massively impressive start. So talking of the minnows, I suppose be remiss of us not to mention Carlo as well. So
yeah,
I think we're about to.
Well, actually, speaking of which, it's like we have all this planned. We do have a very special guest on Skype, no less. We have Colm Bonner. Colm, how are you doing tonight? Congratulations.
Yes, thank you, Annie. Yeah, nice to be on the programme.
I suppose you're front and centre of the attention now over the last few days. You know, how does that feel for you now? You know, being the talk of the place.
Yeah, well, look, we're not getting carried away, but we're delighted with the result. Delighted to get a point on board. We know Galway probably had 6 or 7 of their All-Ireland winning team, and to be fair, you know, Micheál was trying a couple of more players. They were trying extremely hard, but they found a lot of pressure. But to be fair, our lads stood up to it, and the more the game had on, the better we got. And we scored 13 great points in the second half, and come out with a point. We're delighted.
I mean, for a lot of people, this might have been a surprise, but there's been plenty of development, you know, in the county and club scene. So for yourselves, I mean, this wasn't an overnight success.
No, we've been working very hard for the last 2 years. When I first came in there, you know, we were under pressure small in Division 2, but we found our feet. We lost that final to Antrim, and we learned time from it. Antrim then in Croke Park. And that was a great experience for the lads to go to Croke Park and score 423. It showed, you know, that they have the hurling. And then it was on us to do better in the Division 2 league, and we beat Westmeath and went on to the Donoghue, which is a higher level. And to win again in Croke Park just showed the lads and, you know, we can definitely improve where we are, and that's the ambition. Very, very, very ambitious bunch of players that have.
Colm Eamon here. I'm just wondering, the first game you had against Dublin, you were ahead of half-time, 2 points up with the wind. How did that set you up in terms of positively and negatively for the Galway result?
Yeah, you know, we've done an awful lot of hard work pre-season. We knew we have a lot of catching up in terms of strength and conditioning and fitness to get the level where the teams that are normally competing at that level. So we set our stall out. We said our first 3 games are against the 3 biggest teams in the league, Dublin, Galway and Waterford, and we said, look, let's have a crack. We've nothing to lose, see where we are. And to be fair, we were good value for a 2-point win, or 2-point lead at half time against Dublin. It was 15-15. Dublin kind of changed it up a small bit in the second half, started running more aggressively at us, and it took us a while to counteract it and try to come to terms. And but with 5 minutes to go, we had brought it back to 2 points, and we're kind of saying this game is there for us. But we didn't finish it out, and that's something we probably learned from the week before, that if we can keep it a team like Dublin and maybe start the second half a bit better, as we did against Galway, we'd have a chance to maybe try and see that game out a bit better than we did against Dublin. So definitely helped us the game before.
Well, certainly, you know, you're taking the games to teams, which is working. Now, if you're just looking, you had the Chris Doering Cup success in 2017, Joe McDonagh Cup success in 2018. Like, how do you, I suppose, what's your expectation for success now in 2019? Like, where do you go from here?
Yeah, well, look, we haven't lost run of ourselves. When we got up to, from Division 2 to Division 1B, we knew the biggest thing that we would have to do was make sure that we stay up there and not to yo-yo up between Division 2 and Division 1B. That was hugely important, that we can find our feet, that we can play the better teams, bring our confidence up, the framework and the structure that we have, you know, to have the confidence to play to our strengths against these better teams. And yeah, look, we're relishing the opportunity, but we still have a big task in terms of, you know, Waterford next Saturday week, and then obviously Laois and Offaly. And our goal is to get enough points on the board to stay in Division 1B, because what's going to happen next year is that division is going to become Division 1. So really, it would be like a promotion for us if we can, you know, have one Division 2, staying in 1B, and next year competing in Division 1. So that's, you know, that'd be a huge promotion and huge progression for this Carlow hurling team.
Well, certainly you're on the road with plenty of progression there. So we wish you the very best of luck now against Waterford and the remainder of the league. Thanks so much for talking to us, Colm.
OK, thank you, Anna.
Thanks very much. So it was definitely one of the success stories of the week. I mean, Seamus, I suppose it would be a lie to say that a lot of people weren't surprised by the result. I mean, what struck you about the game?
Listen, the reality is, I would have expected all to say Dublin, Galway and Waterford to won the weekend. It's great to see these results, because we've seen progression from teams even in the past from Antrim, from Laois, who've always made big bursts. Laois had a big result against Galway a couple of years ago as well. It's sustaining it is the key. I place a huge amount of credit for all that's happening in Carlow on Colin Bonner. The work that he's done in WIT and the Fitzgibbons that he's actually done will actually give him a great insight for the coming game against Waterford. He knows a lot of those players inside out. But it takes a huge amount of I suppose leadership and I suppose man management to get a group of players in what is an underdog situation, to get them focused and to maintain that focus over an extended period of time. The Christie ring in 17, Joe McDonough in 18, and the start, it's only a start now in 2019, but it's a good start, and it's important. Now, with that point against Galway, that's only worth what it is as long as they perform against Offaly and against Laois, and they're all Midlands derbies. So, like, I do like what I'm seeing from them. I know we played them last year in Dr. Cullen. Dr. Cullen is a difficult place to go, and you know they've got big men that are cause you all sorts of trouble. Ed Byrne destroyed Westmeath in the McDonagh Cup final, and he was a key point of emphasis for us to try and keep the game contained. Last year when we played him in the I suppose the preliminary round in the All-Ireland stages. So they were also a week removed from the McDonagh Cup, so it was kind of unfair when they were trotted out against us when we had 2 weeks break. But still, good strides been made. I think that Colin Bonner's the right man to actually do it. And I think they actually have, like, Martin Kavanagh obviously was excellent on frees at the weekend. Chris Nolan came on, but he was always dangerous. He got a goal last year in the McDonagh Cup final. Needs to be watched. James Doyle again. So they've actually got loads of really good hurlers. It's sustaining this is key. Getting a big result is actually good for everybody in hurling because we need all these teams competing.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you know, Colin referenced it. Galway had a different team out there, and they I suppose they were down to a lot of players who were kind of trying to make a mark for Galway, but Carlow went and got a result.
Absolutely. Well, like, I mean, just touching him and what Seamus said there, it's about the performance, and you've seen Carlow play. So what is it that they're doing that's helping to produce these performances?
Yeah, well, I suppose like all great underdogs, the platform has to be winning that 50-50 ball, especially in hurling, winning the ball when it hits the ground. The game against Dublin, in which they'd set themselves up so well for victory. In the first half, they were 2 points up playing against the wind. But in that game, they'd won 69% of the ball overall that hit the ground. So you can just tell you the amount of work they're putting in. They're a very fast team. This time of year, they're obviously kind of have themselves nicely peaked at this time of year. A lot of other teams may be going through a lot of maybe harder training. Martin Kavanagh, you know, he's free taking, but also he's scoring from play. He scored 3 against Dublin. He scored 1 against Galway as well. And like he's one of the form hurlers in the country at the moment. So, but yeah, it's the footballers as well, you know, are not.
That's what I was just saying.
Well.
I can't be leaving Kieran out of the conversation here because you're not going to get off the hook. Like Carlow footballers, I mean, it's not just all about the Carlow hurlers. We saw the club scene even in the football, the Leinster titles that they're winning. It seems to be thriving as well.
Yeah, they were. Look, I think everything starts at the top, you know, and Colin Bonner is obviously doing a great job, but the footballers have Turlough O'Brien, who's really has really got them going. You know, if you were willing to follow a fella till the end and back, and I think that's I don't know him personally, I don't know what he's like tactically or any of that stuff, but I know he's got guys playing for him and guys going to war for him, and that going into any battle is worth its weight in gold, and they proved that last year in a lot of games, and some fantastic footballers out there.
Well, it's certainly given everybody a lift, I think, seeing a Carlow win. So, well, it might have been quite a shock result in Carlow on Sunday. Meanwhile, you could argue it was business as usual for Jim Gavin's Dublin in Croke Park on Saturday night. Here is the best of the action from their victory over Galway.
So we're going to find out how Dublin will react to that rare defeat. They're back at Croke Park tonight for the first time since the All-Ireland final. Everybody fascinated to see how Galway will set up tonight.
Kevin Welch will be looking for some of his bigger names and more experienced players to really, I suppose, come to the fore.
Peter Cook, 5 points for NUI Galway during the week, and that's his first tonight. He sidestepped Flatman Cunningham, just wide. Costello, again he slips the tackle, left Sean Kelly for dead, and this time Cormac Costello hits the target.
Costello's high in confidence, he can do things like this easily, he doesn't even think about it. Shane Walsh or Johnny Heaney haven't been able to get involved as often as Kevin Welch would like. But what you've seen from Dublin today is inevitably the real Dublin.
Gaps starting to appear at the back more and more. Up goes Rock. Brannock's beaten to it, and Dean Rock tucks it away. Dublin's first goal of the night, scored by their full forward, Dean Rock. Their challenge has just collapsed completely. And now Dublin really on a roll. And that is beautiful to watch. And Costello filling his boot.
We've seen flashes of potential from Cormac Costello in the past, but we haven't seen that consistent excellence. It's going to be a very quiet journey home to Galway.
A reality check for Galway. It's business as usual for Dublin.
Great game, and Croke Park, of course, looking great as well. With that said, unfortunately, the same can't be said about Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Seamus. I mean, you know, Cork GA is taking a few hits now, and this wasn't something that they needed to add to the list.
Yeah, no, sometimes at the moment it feels like it never rains but it pours in Cork. Yeah, no, the stadium and all the attention it's getting, the pitch was deplorable at the weekend. But, you know, looking at David Fitz's comments on it, they'd looked at it, they'd inspected it before the double header went ahead on Sunday, and they didn't have too many gripes about it. The top of the surface was hard, but you can see the way it's cutting up there. Like it's obviously very, very loose underfoot, and the fact that it was cut up in such clumps, there's a serious safety risk there. It's Cork's, you know, the gala opening last year. You know, it's a distant memory now with this kind of attention. Yeah,
and as I said, like, it's not something that we want to see, because it does take from the game as well as the spectacle. Kieran, of course, you're an expert in this area, so it's great that we even have you here to chat about this. So what is it? What's your take on it?
Yeah, it's obviously it's disappointing, because looking at it from the outside, it's obviously spectacular, but you know, we've heard what's gone on since. The pitch, it's a very hard one to call. I would say with natural pitches, you know, when we put them down, it's always about giving them time and keeping people off them, but it's a constant battle, especially in a stadium like that, because you build this wonderful stadium, you've got your pitch, it looks fantastic, and you're kind of, do we keep people off this now, or do we let people on it? And the urge is to let them on it. And we played the Munster final down there last year, and especially with the high stand it's got coming out over the pitch, it comes out quite far. And even in them few clips you showed there, especially around underneath that, it was cutting up reckless. Yeah. And it was in the Munster final, which was on in June, or the end of June, start of July last year, which was, as we know, we got a great summer. Absolutely. And it was still cutting up underneath us. So I would say probably needs a rest, and you know, they might look at, you know, probably having to give it a rest now at this stage.
And Croke Park had these teething problems. Absolutely. Back in the 2000s when they laid the pitch and the redevelopment of the stadium. So it is to be expected to some degree, but like what Kieran said, like, you're balancing this. We have this amazing facility that we need to open up now and actually start drawing in revenue, but we also have to balance that with the fact that, you know, you have to leave pitches set and you have to let grass set, and you know, I would expect that the GA with their farm in Dublin would be able to help them out in this situation.
Well, speaking, I suppose they have shipped some heavy criticism, Cork GA, but they have, Eamon, moved the game at least to Páirc Uí Chaoimh now against Clare. Yeah, well, I don't think they had much option. You can't really have a repeat of what went on last weekend. Obviously didn't help the fact that they had two matches on and that the football on before it. It's actually an interesting enough point. I always kind of think to myself, with the football and hurling, there shouldn't have been two games in the pitch there at all. But which do you think, Seamus, which sport should be going first if you're going to have two on the same day? No hurler wants to play on a field that's been ploughed by footballers. It just doesn't. We don't want it to happen. You know, we're all finesse stickmen in Limerick, especially in the full back line. But you would employing yourself. Yeah, a small bit. Yeah, but you know, we played Wexford twice down in Wexford Park after Limerick played Wexford in football as double headers. It's actually tough enough because of it naturally cuts up, and it probably cuts up a small bit more in football because of I suppose the heavier turning and stuff like that. So you know, people will say now at home that you're slightly biased, by the way. I'm insanely biased. I would say football should be on first. Okay, we're going to have to settle this, I think, during the break, because we're after going way over. We could talk about it all day. Time for a quick break now, and when we come back, we will look ahead to round 3 of the Alliance Football Leagues, including the mouth-watering clash in Tralee of Kerry versus Dublin. See you in a few.